Welcome back to Digi Bros.
Welcome back, Crack-a-lack. I killed this guy.
On the last episode, we were talking about
Whoa, Blue Ruby!
okay, popular shows we don't like.
Yeah.
Sort of.
You were.
What's the most popular show you don't like, Vic?
Sword Art Online, right?
Other than Sword Art Online. That one's obvious.
I don't know.
How do you feel about popular shows?
The Walking Dead?
Did you watch some of that, didn't you?
I watched 2 seasons, yes.
And how did you feel after season 2?
I felt like I need to stop watching this.
Did you ever watch the YMS videos about that?
Yeah.
You did, that's right. I showed them because I wanted you to have the vindication because you were complaining about the show.
Because it's one of those where it's Stockholm Syndrome, where it's like the first season's really good, and
So
then
you
you're
wanna
watching the
keep
second
watching
season,
it, right?
and then you're just like, this is boring, this is boring, this is boring, and then the
definitely
end is
agree.
kind of,
Yeah.
But then it's like, I'm not going to keep putting myself through this shit.
That's how I feel about like most long shows. I think
Yeah.
most people get Stockholm Syndrome with the show and they keep watching it after it turns to shit because they don't recognize that it's not the same show.
Yes.
So, like especially with The Walking Dead, it's literally not the same show. It's not the same director.
Yeah.
It's no longer mostly based on the source material. It's tons of filler. It's just not the same show, and like you're already invested. So unless you like really knew that,
I love how like even mom and dad don't like The Walking Dead anymore. They just
No.
watch it
But it
for
took
the
them
hell,
like
for the sake of watching
it took them until like the end of season 3.
Yeah, but
for them
they
to
watch
be like,
everything,
okay.
so it's like
Right.
you know it's bad when they
That's
think
not
it's
completely
bad.
true. They've dropped some shows.
They watch a lot of shit.
They didn't like. Dad actually said he can't get through Mad Men because it's
Wow.
just too no one's likable.
Yeah.
Like he was like, there's no character that you root for in Mad Men.
That was
All just
when me and Donson watched like 3 episodes or something, and Donson just gave up because he was just like, everyone in this is a shithead.
Yeah.
Why would I watch this? It's like, all right.
shithead action.
Guess I'll stop watching it too.
The popular anime, the most popular anime according to my anime list. Number 1
Yeah.
is Death Note.
Whoa.
I think Death Note's pretty. Did you ever like read or watch much of Death Note? Like how much?
I mean, I had
I think
back in the day.
I think me and you watched the first 12 episodes.
Yeah,
When that was
something
all
like
that was
that.
out of the anime.
when
like
it was coming out.
because I had been reading the manga like
In
as it
Nihongo.
released. Well, I mean I'd been reading the manga as it came out in the U.S.
Yes.
And then I found out there was an anime that was like 12 episodes in, and we watched it, and then we never finished it. And I also never finished the manga. I read 10 out of the 13 volumes, and never finished it.
Yeah.
Because like everyone says, after L dies, it kind of just is like, like it's not like it's bad. It's just not the same, and it's not like as interesting. And I think that Bakuman basically admits that the authors knew that, and
Yeah.
that they feel the same way. But yeah, like, I think Death Note's pretty okay for what it is.
Yeah.
It's a fun show. The second most popular is Sword Art Online, and the third most is Attack on Titan. I think Bleach and Naruto are 4 and 5.
Yeah. Just weird. You think Naruto would be?
Well, it's
Pretty
on
high
my
up
anime
there.
list. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people might not list it, you know, or it's watched by people who aren't on that website.
That's probably
Like, I
true.
think to find my anime list, you have to at least be someone who's like into anime beyond Naruto
Yeah.
and Bleach.
Because I'm sure Dragon Ball Z is probably the, most popular anime.
Could be. The movie just the new film, like,
I feel like the most random people would know what Dragon Ball Z is.
yeah, I think that's probably true.
Especially in our
People
generation.
our age, yeah. I don't know if more people would know DBZ than like Naruto and Bleach. Maybe.
Are you kidding me?
Probably. People our
Definitely.
age, for sure, but like I don't know if that would be true for younger people.
Yeah. I don't know, because now they have the
Dragon Ball Super?
Dragon Ball Z Kai.
Oh yeah.
That
too.
aired all on Cartoon Network
Oh,
and
did
shit.
it?
Yeah. So it's like that whole re-release has been out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's actually what like the funny thing is, because I don't think a lot of people in the U.S. necessarily watched Kai like as it was airing in Japan.
Yeah.
But Dragon Ball Super literally started the week afterwards. Like,
Really?
Like as if the show never ended.
Huh.
It's like it's just like you watch the last episode of Dragon Ball Kai and then Super starts up and it's a direct sequel. Like it takes place
Wow.
right after the end of Dragon Ball Z. So if you were watching Kai and then you saw Super, it would be as though the show just suddenly jumped 10 years forward in like
Wow.
I'm trying to find a word that doesn't mean animation quality, but
It
does
still
mean
doesn't look
it looks like garbage.
Visual style.
But like
maybe.
it's HD now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I thought Kai was HD. Like, isn't that the point?
No,
Didn't
Kai.
they redraw the frames?
It's like the Zeta Gundam movies.
Yeah.
Where,
it's like parts are redone and parts are
Yeah,
just the same.
I think most of it's just like the point of Kai is more that it condenses everything.
Yeah.
Like it cuts out a lot, like all the filler. It condenses the episode count so that like the arcs don't last a million years.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Dragon Ball fans have said that like Z is overall better because a lot of those details are what made Z fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point of Kai is sort of to condense it and remaster parts of it, but it's still, most of it just looks like the old show. It just kind of looks like shit. Because I watched the first episode of Kai when that came out, and I was like, oh, this is not like a
Fuck do I
like
get
a
rid of these
full
folders?
remake of it or anything.
I gotta look at the strategy guide and remember how to do this.
Which, for those who don't know what the Zeta Gundam films are, incredibly weird series of films.
Yes.
Where Mobile Suit Gundam, the classic show from 1979, was remade into a series of 3 films immediately after the show finished, right? Like, they
Yeah.
finished making Mobile Suit Gundam, and then they turned it into a film trilogy, and the trilogy was, like, where it got more popular. Like, the show was not that popular, but the trilogy was, from what I understand. And like, the reruns and the Gunpla were popular. So, like, that's how Gundam got started. So then, like, not long after Gundam, there was the sequel Zeta Gundam in, like, 1984 or so.
Oh yeah.
And it was a
Badass.
50-episode show that's really good. I mean,
Pretty good.
it's pretty good. Some of it's shitty, but it's a good show overall. But then they decided to do the same thing where they make it into films. I think it's only 2. But they did it 20 years later,
Yes.
and they reanimated a bit of it.
Yes.
So you're watching
And there's
this movie.
CG robots for bits of it.
Yeah.
That it goes
So,
randomly.
You're watching this movie that is already a 50-episode show condensed into like 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah.
And you'll be watching, and it'll be scenes from a 20-year-old TV show, 30-year-old now, but 20-year-old at the time, that suddenly cut into modern footage of a new show at random. So
Yes.
you'll literally be watching 80s fucking footage, and then suddenly it's a whole different aspect ratio, definition, quality, like everything's different. Super fucking weird. Apparently, I believe from what I've heard that one of the points of the Zeta Gundam movies is that they retcon Double Zeta out of existence, like in the canon. Like,
That's weird.
I don't know what they change exactly, but I've heard
There we
that
go, there's
they
fish.
retcon out Double Zeta,
Amazing.
which is good because Double Zeta is a nightmare. Anyways, I don't remember how we got on that topic.
Me either.
Popular anime, that's right.
We were talking about shows we don't like because we're just fucking assholes. We're just the worst.
Well, I like a lot of popular anime.
Fish on.
I like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood a lot.
Get it. I got a fish. How do I
You
do
like
this?
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Yeah, Brotherhood's amazing.
Jesus, that thing's enormous.
Fuck
Why
yeah.
are these swimming around in this Zora Lake where they're probably hunted constantly?
They're stupid. I don't know.
Um,
I got the fish scent.
and I like Steins Gate a lot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to continue on a train of thought I brought up a couple episodes ago, the last recording session. I was talking about how all these anime that are like great are overrated, And it seemed like I was just being like a snippy asshole about it, which I kind of was.
Yeah.
Because like it was the kind of thing where, as I was saying it, I was like, why the fuck am I saying this? Like, why am I complaining that all these shows that are legitimately good are overrated? And I understand why I was complaining now, because
you're
it
crotchety?
sets my expectations too high.
Yeah.
And it really, it kind of fucks with, like, I feel like when people put certain shows on a pedestal, they make it out like there's this tier of shows that are just so far above everything else. And they're not really that much above everything else, you know? Like, a great example, because I just watched it, is Princess Tutu.
Yes.
And I think Princess Tutu is a great show. I think it's worth watching for anyone who's into the, like, if you're into magical girls, definitely watch it. If you're into ballet or classical music, or you just want to see something that's a really good, like, audio visual piece, it's worth watching. It's got a decent story and decent characters and great character art and great music. But it's not like anything special compared to other shows that are similar. Like, people talk about Princess Tutu like it completely redefines the magical girl genre.
Yeah.
Like nothing else can touch it. Like it's this masterpiece beyond space and time. And maybe I'm just
transcending history.
You know,
in
maybe
the
I'm
world.
just reading too deeply into the way people talk about Tutu. And maybe people don't really feel that way. It's just that it's a show that so many people have on their favorites lists that it seems like everyone who watches it thinks it's one of the greatest anime ever made. And it's not that special compared to other shows like it. Like, the character art is great, right? The characters the character designs are great, and the character art is always consistently good in the show. Characters always look good. But the backgrounds are like, you can tell the show is made on a low budget. Like, the director is a genius who knows how to use that low budget very well. But, like, there's all these, like, really early CG effects in the show. Like, most of the effects are early CG. And they're used in a way... There's a lot of animation shortcuts that are used in a way that's interesting and makes you go, wow, that director really thought about how to use that. But you can still tell it's a shortcut. You know, like a character just kind of sliding across the frame. Sort of like Kill La Kill, where there's, like, a lot of scenes where you're like, okay, they didn't animate that, but it was clever how they did it, you know? But overall, like, the animation quality is just not very high. It's clearly a low-budget show. There's only a few scenes that are like, wow, that really stands out and looks great, you know? But most of it's just sort of whatever. And, like, I mean, the voice acting is solid. The story is, like, just any other story. It's just, like, they have to fight against destiny. And eventually they basically fight God. It's every anime. It's the plot of every anime.
I love how the plot of every anime is that you have to fight destiny and eventually God.
Right.
And that is anime.
They don't really fight God per se, but they do fight the writer of the story. It's basically who they're like, because with Princess Tutu, like the main thing that sets it apart is that it's very meta. Where the idea is that it's a story within a story, where, like, the guy who's writing the story is a character, and he interacts with the characters in his story. Sort of like the Coheed and Cambria albums. Yeah. But, he, like, the writer is, like, cruel, and all he wants it to be a tragedy. All he cares about is that it ends in tragedy. So he's trying to gear everything towards that. But the characters are trying to not have it end in tragedy. So they sort of fight against it, and it ends up, you know, how it ends up. And the funny thing about it is people always make out Tutu like it's a tragedy, and it's not. It has a happy ending. Yeah. Spoiler alert. But I want to spoil that because it's weird, because I had heard so many times that, like, Tutu is like this real tearjerker, that it's like a tragic story, and it's not at all. Like, no one dies at the end. No one dies. No one dies in Tutu. Nothing super sad happens.
Not Game of Thrones.
Like, it has sad moments, but it ends happily, so it's fine. You know, like what?
Watch this.
The ending felt like what all of the characters wanted to happen. You know, like everyone got their way. Everyone got their wish. So I didn't understand how the show had ever been billed as a tragedy Like, it has a darker edge to it than most of its genre, but it's really not a tragedy. And so, like, you know, I went into it, like, with that mentality that, like, people consider this a tragedy, people consider this a masterpiece, and it's really not that different from any other show that's similar to it. It's not that different from, like, Madoka Magica, which is another show that people hype up like it's something special, and it's really not. Like, it's just another anime. Every anime is about the same thing. It's all about fighting destiny and God.
I know.
Like, it's just like when I watched,
Son of a bitch, what is it?
I don't think this is right at all. I don't think you know what the fuck you're doing. Rewatch this.
Okay. That's what I thought I did the first time. Shit. I went down again. I wasn't supposed to go down. I know. Alright, whatever.
So anyways,
Madoka Magica.
Like, I watched through a show called Zetsuen no Tempest. And, like, my impression of that show was, this is the template anime. Like, there's a bunch of characters trying to, like, change the fate of the world. It's gonna be destroyed.
Yeah.
They go through a bunch of relationship drama, and in the end, they kill God. Like, that was...
Poor God.
Like, it's the exact...
Why does God always have to die?
And there's usually a big reset at the end, where everything gets reset. Go watch My Hime. Go watch any big action show usually has this plot. Like,
I guess in Gurren Lagann they more fight like anti-God.
They basically fight God. I mean, it's the same thing every time. And like I was saying to you, like the other day, like Gurren Lagann kind of ruined every other show like that.
Yeah.
Because it went so far with it, where it was like, if we're gonna have the characters go all the way and fight God, we should have it be the biggest build-up possible. And that's like, I think that's what's special about Gurren Lagann isn't just that it goes to, like, the impossible extreme of, like, massiveness, but that it builds its way there.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've seen a lot of anime where, like, they're fighting a battle that's sort of local, and then at the end they fight God. And it's like, whoa, it's like a huge leap.
You don't get to do that.
Whereas with Gurren Lagann, it's like they build up from literally the smallest possible spot to the biggest possible spot.
Baby steps to giant leaps, man.
Yeah, with constant movement. And, like, it's the perfect hero's journey story. It's the perfect fighting God and changing destiny story. And every other story that does the same thing is just never going to feel as good as Gurren Lagann.
Toy, man.
You know? So, like, watching something like Tutu, like, it has its own things that make it unique, that make it worth watching, that, like, it's about ballet as opposed to fighting, you know, the characters dance, and there's great dance sequences, great soundtrack and stuff, and, like, but so much of the series is just spinning its wheels. It's just characters, like, almost every episode has the same beginning. It's like, I need to help Muto to regain part of his heart. Yeah. What am I going to do? And then the characters stand around for like 10 minutes going, oh, what's wrong with Muto? Oh, things are weird. Oh, everything's changing. Oh, what's going on?
Oh, God.
And then like at the end of the episode, maybe there's like a little progress made, but like almost every episode is the same thing.
Yeah.
There's like a mid-part climax, and then it kind of goes back to being the same thing, just with like different characters being prominent. And then it gets really trippy for 2 episodes, which were written by Chiaki Kanaka, who wrote Lane and Techno Lies. So, like, you know. And that's another thing. Like, I feel like that's the kind of thing where people would watch a show like Tutu, and they get to those episodes where things get really trippy.
And they go, whoa, amazing!
Yeah, and they go, whoa, I can't believe this is happening in a magical girl show. But, like, for me, it's like, okay, the director of this show is Junichi Sato, who was the guy who basically trained all the people who worked on Utena, right?
Yeah.
Like, Junichi Sato's mostly known for doing, like, calm, quiet, slice-of-life shows. But he directed, like, he was the original director for Sailor Moon, and then he handed it over to Kunihiko Ikuhara, who would go on to do Utena, like, when he was leaving, and then he did other stuff. And, like, I always saw Princess Tutu as sort of like Sato making up for missing out on Utena, you know? Although he did do a little bit on Utena. But like, you know, there's these 2 trippy episodes, which for a magical girl show are, a little weird. But when you find out that those episodes are written by Chiaki Kanaka, who wrote fucking Lane and Technolize and like all this other trippy stuff, Big O, like
Big O.
it makes perfect sense as a Kanaka episode, you know, like it literally feels like a Lane episode repurposed into a Princess Tutu episode.
Yes.
So
yeah, this guy.
For me, having that context, it kind of takes away from the like whoa, this magical girl show got trippy, and it's like more like, oh, this Chiaki Kanaka show got sub put into this magical girl show, you know. I don't know, just overall I felt like there was nothing about Tutu other than the audio-visual presentation that I couldn't get elsewhere. There was nothing that made me think this is totally original, totally unique, totally like, whoa. And the show didn't have a lot going on. It's not that dense. It's mostly like I said, treading water for a long time. So like, to me, I didn't get the feeling like this is a masterpiece. It's like nothing I've seen before, you know.
Yeah.
That I felt like it was being hyped up as.
Conrad,
Anyway.
I am on a sled adventure with a Yeti.
No, well, next time on Digi Bros, we'll get to see that.
Digi Bros, we're gonna have a good ass fucking time.
Yeah.